Look what has become of you. A rat in the desert.
Look what I have risen above.
During the peak of his tenure as a Sith apprentice, Darth Maul helped usher in what would later be known as the Clone Wars. During the Clone Wars, he created a giant criminal empire, even into the Imperial days. His empire was vast. Now, approximately 30 years later, Darth Maul is just a fragment of himself, now just going by Maul and looking to end his vengeance and his rage one final time. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Gerald, and I'm a Star Wars fanatic, and you can be a Star Wars fanatic too. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications. Subscribing is absolutely free. We may not agree on every topic that I talk about, but we do agree on one thing. We love Star Wars. Okay, with that said, let's get on with today's topic. Maul uses his connection to Ezra Bridger to find where Obi-Wan Kenobi is hiding, and it works. He finds Obi-Wan Kenobi on Tatooine, seeing a much older man than the man he remembered cutting off his legs. Taunting Obi-Wan as he did back in the day during the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan just stands firm and says, "Look what I've risen above." The following brief conversation just shows that Maul hasn't gone beyond his hatred, his anger, his revenge. And without saying so, he threatens the one thing that Obi-Wan Kenobi has left. The Chosen One's son, Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker is to become the savior of the galaxy, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's all he has left. Like Maul, Obi-Wan has lost everything. When Maul approaches Obi-Wan in the desert, Maul came from having this huge criminal empire, being the leader of the Mandalorian people, having another huge empire under Crimson Dawn, to nothing. Wandering alone in the desert, trying to find his old adversary, to end his lifelong struggle internally and externally. Obi-Wan Kenobi, coming from being a member of the High Council of the Jedi Order, down to living in the desert, hidden, as Maul says, like a rat. This conversation and this duel means so much more than what it looks like. There is so much more feeling, emotion between these two characters. Such a history, a long history between them. It started off as Obi-Wan cutting off Maul's legs at the waist. Then it ends up Maul dying in the hands of Obi-Wan at the end. Now, there have been 100 people make videos on why this duel was so fantastically done, why it was so amazing, why so precise. Such short fight scene was necessary for these two aging men. And there have also been 201 YouTube videos created on why that fight scene was bad, why it was too short, why it wasn't grandiose enough, why there wasn't enough flips and kicks and flops and all that stuff. But let me tell you, this scene is amazing. This fight scene just really ended the arc between these two in such a satisfying way. This duel was nothing about who had the better skills or the flashiest moves or any of that. Yeah, it's about the skills, but it isn't about the moves. It isn't about who could kick higher, who could flip farther, who could outwit the other one with a Clone Wars era fighting style. No, this is moving into the Imperial era just before A New Hope. And if we see the lightsaber duels during A New Hope between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader, it's very much static, short, not as grandiose and long as the Clone Wars era. So there's a difference in the eras of which these lightsaber fights are being fought. Yes, they could have still done their choreographed dance fighting movements from the Clone Wars era, but no, they chose it short and sweet. In a 25-minute episode, we didn't have 20 minutes to go through this sort of fighting style that we saw in the Clone Wars between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, and the Duel of the Fates with Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Darth Maul. And also, let's not forget, these two are old men now. They don't probably have the energy anymore, or the Force connection really, to do all those things they used to do. But if you were looking for this to be a long, flashy lightsaber fight, then I'm sorry you were disappointed in that. But let me give you a breakdown as to why this duel was so great. When Obi-Wan gets ticked enough to ignite his lightsaber, he begins with his normal Form 3 or Soresu Now this is a form Maul has encountered in the past with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and their lightsaber fights did end up being drawn out and long. So Darth Maul, or Maul at this point, hesitates on his attack due to the effectiveness of Form 3 at defending against aggressive attackers. Then it occurs to Obi-Wan that the most effective way to end this battle quickly is to change his stance, change his form to one that Maul has defeated in the past, tricking Maul into it. And that form is the form of Obi-Wan's former master, Qui-Gon Jinn, the form of Ataru, or Form 4. So at this point it seems neither elderly Force user is ready to engage in a long lightsaber duel. Maul hesitated with attacking Kenobi when Kenobi was in his Form 3, which would draw out the duel, and Kenobi realized this. The best way to end Maul is to trick him, and he did that by using Qui-Gon's Form 4 and then quickly defeating Maul. Now, as Maul lay dying in Obi-Wan's arms, he says to Obi-Wan, "Is he the chosen one?" And Obi-Wan says, "Yes, he is." So Maul then replies, "He will avenge us." Us? What does that mean? He will avenge us. Maul, we know, feels disgruntled because he was cast aside by Sidious. His legs were cut off at the waist by Obi-Wan. He feels like he's lost everything because of Sidious and Anakin Skywalker, who's now Darth Vader. So why does he care if Obi-Wan Kenobi gets avenged? Sure, Obi-Wan Kenobi was also tricked by Sidious, and so was the rest of the Jedi Order. But why would Darth Maul, or Maul, care about Obi-Wan getting avenged? Because there's a mutual respect there between these two adversaries. They'd been lifelong adversaries. They'd had some repertoire in the past, or little bouts of teasing each other and taunting each other. Not so much in a friendly way, but just in a way knowing, you know, hey, I'm here, I'm still here, you're still here, we're still fighting. Let's just make light of it while we can. But in this moment when Maul's dying, he realizes Obi-Wan Kenobi had been played as a pawn, the same as Maul had throughout the Clone Wars, and they'd both lost everything and wound up in this moment in the sands of Tatooine in the middle of nowhere with nothing. Maul didn't come to Tatooine to kill Kenobi. Maul went to Tatooine to die. He had nothing left. He had nowhere to go. There was no one that trusted him anymore. His criminal empire fell. His leading the Mandalorian people had fallen. He had nobody else. This was his only moment, and the best way he saw fit to end his own life is by going to the person that could best give him the dignified death. Ezra Bridger wasn't a worthy enough adversary for Maul to go after, and he really had no reason to go after Ezra. Ezra had done nothing to him. They'd actually been mutual on several occasions, other than Maul trying to kill Ezra's mentor. No, his death had to come from where it began, and that's Obi-Wan Kenobi, a mutual adversary and a mutual pawn of Sidious. Now, Maul's also been bent on revenge against Sidious and Anakin Skywalker for what had happened to him, how he'd been discarded and replaced with Count Dooku and then replaced by Anakin Skywalker. He had these feelings of vengeance, but he knew at this point he couldn't defeat either one. He couldn't defeat Darth Vader, let alone Sidious at this point. He'd gained too old, he'd lost too much, his connection with the Force was wavering at this point, and he was just ready for his life of suffering to end. So this scene wasn't a way to just get rid of Maul. This scene was meant for so much more. The scene was breaking away from the Clone Wars finally, and then moving on into the Imperial era or the Galactic Civil War, with Maul being another piece of Obi-Wan's past that needed to be severed. Maul had to go. Obi-Wan needed to move forward into the Luke Skywalker era and away from the Anakin Skywalker era to train up the next generation, get the next generation ready to take back the galaxy that had been stolen from them by Sidious and Darth Vader. So the Clone Wars had ended. That style of fighting between two Force users had ended. The shorter, sweeter version was to move the story along and to make a bigger impact on the audience. And it worked. It worked very well. It was a very emotional scene, very touching, very much right to the point. Two pawns of the Clone Wars, one ready to die, the other ready to carry on the Jedi legacy through the next generation and defeat the Empire. Now, he did tell Obi-Wan, "I came here to kill you," but that was to taunt Obi-Wan and pull him into a fight. It would be completely out of character for Maul to say something like, "I came here for you to kill me." But let me know what you think in the comments below. Was the fight too short? Was it perfect? Was it a little too long even, maybe, for some of you? Just let me know in the comments and we'll discuss it. And this is Gerald from Star Wars Fanatic, signing off, wishing you all great health and happiness. Thank you for watching, and remember, this is the way, the only way.